Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, as always, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachah, HaKodash, double honors unto the apostles and elders of great millstone who rule well. Salutations to you, sincere and hopeful elect Akim, Arabim, Arabai Lap, all right, which is to say 144,000. Shalom to you. Shalom as well to the Bachayar, which is the elect, all right, and Chud Shalayashim, which is 1/3. All right, we are striving to be a part of that number, being that we have taken part in this ministry. So I wanted to get into this lesson dealing with the Valley of Jehoshaphat, and in this video here, what you see is Colonel Anthony Aguilar, all right, Lieutenant Colonel, goes into some events that took place last week with Iran and the U.S. and Israel. But there's something that he mentioned that we, the prophets of Yahweh Shem Shai, via the Holy Spirit and the scriptures, have been saying for the longest. All right, saying that the location in which WW3, all right, the Valley of Jehoshaphat, will be fought, being in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia. All right, this Lieutenant Colonel pretty much says the same thing. Okay, letting you know that prophecy is unfolding, and prophecy it stands true. All right, so I'm gonna play a little bit of this and then grab a couple precepts and edify and wrap it up.
We know for a fact that in all of these locations, there have been some that have succeeded, and they very likely hit their targets. Jordan, we have, and again, looking at where we're now staging things, it is very clear based on what we are willing to protect and based on what Iran is continuing to go after and running out of geography. There's no places to put 50,000 soldiers anymore when you've lost certain bases and you've shrunken your footprint geographically.
All right, so the damage that Iran has done to those garrisons of the U.S., all right, the military bases that America has in the Middle East, are pretty much non-operational. All right, they've been bombed time and time again, which Iran stated that it would do that. So there's no place to put these troops, all right, as far as where they would conventionally be placed. All right, where they would be conventionally placed, they can't put them there no more. All right, 50,000 troops. So what's the alternative? All right.
So, like I said before, Kuwait, Ali Al Salim Air Base, and the base in Saudi Arabia, I believe, are now the intermediate staging bases within the Central Command AOR to support operations under this Operation Sledgehammer. The base in Saudi Arabia, I believe, are now the intermediate staging bases within the Central Command AOR, Al Salim Air Base, and the base in Saudi Arabia, I believe, are now the intermediate staging bases within the Central Command AOR.
Right, so he mentioned Saudi Arabia, okay, which Saudi Arabia is where prophecy tells us Armageddon is going to take place. All right.
To support operations under this Operation Sledgehammer. Jordan, I believe, has become where we've moved a lot of critical assets because there's defenses, there's bunkers, there's underground facilities, there's places to put stuff to protect it. It's not impenetrable, but it provides something. To keep everything in Tel Aviv would be stupid. To keep everything on the airfield in Ben Gurion, when it's just a matter of not if, but when Iran decides to strike, That would be dumb. So have we moved things around? And I think where we would move them is Ali Al Salim, Saudi, and Jordan. So that's where things are going to be hit. And with the strikes we saw in Jordan yesterday and the continuation of strikes today, it is very likely that there have been losses. So is it 12 to 13? Probably not. Is it somewhere in the middle? Probably. And 5 to 6 F-35s lost is a big deal.
All right, there you have it. Okay, so he even mentioned Saudi Arabia. All right, so my first precept is here in Isaiah 9 and verse 5. It says, "For every battle of the warriors with confused noise and garments rolled in blood, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire." Okay, because World War III is gonna be a nuclear war, a thermonuclear war. All right, you can look at highlights of World War I, World War II. All right, that was a trench warfare. They used certain gases, rifles, tanks, things of that nature to wage war. But this war that we are, witnessing unfold, it's a drone warfare. A lot of drone warfare going on, in particular with Iran. Excuse me. Well, you can say Iran, but I meant to say Slovakia. Damn. Ukraine and Russia. All right, I was thinking Kyiv. All right, Ukraine and Russia. There's a lot of drone warfare going on. All right, and now you do have a lot of drone warfare going on with Iran as well. But eventually it's gonna go nuclear. All right, once that first nuke goes off, everybody else is gonna let those nukes go off as well. Okay. So this World War III is gonna be with burning and fuel of fire. All right. So Joel 3 and verse 2, it says, matter of fact, verse 1, it says, "For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem." All right, and we're in the times in which the Heavenly Father is reversing our captivity. All right, the curses are slowly being lifted off of us and being placed onto these other nations. Okay, so the Most High is getting ready to deliver us, and so with Him doing that, there's certain things that got to happen, that got to take place. All right, so verse 2, it says, "I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land." All right, so currently the land of Israel is being parted up. You got the small hats trying to pretty much seize control of all of the land of Israel. You got the Gaza Strip, all right, that's been decimated, but that being pretty much the final stronghold of the Palestinians, in the land of Israel. Okay, you got like 4 different quarters within Jerusalem. The Armenian quarter, you got the Muslim quarter, the Jewish quarter, and the Christian quarter, if I'm not mistaken. All right, so the land, you got Moabites all up in Israel. Okay, I'm not sure how prevalent they are currently because of the war that's taking place, but that land is completely jacked up. Our homeland is completely jacked up, and the people that are there do not belong there. Okay, so the Lord is bringing all these nations down to the valley of Jehoshaphat because He's about to judge them. All right, which is why there's no pretty much agreement that's going to be made on part of the side of Israel and the U.S. and Iran, and pertaining to the war that's going on, that's being fought right now Okay? The Lord is going to keep, even when they think they're going to come to an agreement, and when they say peace and safety, as the scriptures say, the Most High is going to throw another monkey wrench in their plans to have things go kinetic, you know? So Joel 3 in verse, let me see, 3 and 9, I'm going to start at 9. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. All right. So all these armies is getting ready for war. You know, it says, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. So a lot of the money that was used for infrastructure, for agriculture, you know, for industry, you know, on part of these nations, these various nations, they're now using that money strictly for its military. Their militaries, okay? Buying certain weapons from Russia, or it's said that that the certain materials that Iran received from Russia, which has allowed them to pretty much build a nuke. You know? So that's just being an example. All right. It says, verse 11, assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together around, round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord Yahweh. All right. Which is going to be the angels ultimately. All right. That's going to come down. All right. Because as it says in the Apocrypha, nothing shall be perceived but dust and smell of smoke. All right. And that dust and smell of smoke, what's going to contribute to that is going to be the right aiming thunderbolts that's going to come from the chariots, you know, as it says in the book of Wisdom of Solomon. All right. That's going to come from the chariots, you know. So you're going to have nukes going off, but also you're going to have the angels doing their thing as well. All right. Verse 12, it says, let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Okay. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come get you down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Okay. When you look at the aspirations and the goals of this so-called New World Order that all these nations are partaking in, you know, and you know, the spearhead of that being AI, and that's a bunch of wickedness, man, that the Lord has to, pretty much destroy, being that once it gets to a certain level, it's already too much, man. All right. Now, if the Lord didn't check, you know, Esau's diabolical plans, man, there'd be no flesh left to be saved. All right. It says, verse 15, it says, the sun and the moon shall be darkened and the stars shall withdraw their shining. All right. Because of that destruction. The Lord Yahweh also shall roar out of Zion and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall shake, but Yahweh will be the hope of his people and the strength of the children of Israel. All right. So, you know, the Most High is going to be with the elected of the Israelites. And, you know, that is the only place in which you will find refuge. Okay. The only place you will be able to find refuge in that time is, you know, under the shadow of the Almighty. Okay. Real quick, let me see something. Give me 1 second. Let me read this real quick. This is Isaiah 66 and verse 15. It says, "For behold, the Lord Yahweh will come with fire and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and his sword will the Lord Yahweh plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord Yahweh shall be many." All right, so this third world war is going to be fought with fire. All right, thermonuclear destruction. All right, let me see. Face. All right, 2 and 20. All right, this is Joel 2 and 20. It says, "But I will remove far off from you the northern army," which that northern army is talking about this U.S. military. All right, because they're going to be drafted and pretty much summoned to go show face over in Saudi Arabia, as we just heard Lieutenant Colonel Aguilar going to. Okay. It says, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate, all right, Saudi Arabia, with his face toward the East Sea. All right, so the East Sea being, when you look at a map real quick, let me get the map. All right, so the East Sea, right, as it says, with his face toward the East Sea. So if you are standing boots on ground in Saudi Arabia, the East Sea would be the Persian Gulf, which it's not a coincidence that this area right here, right where it says Dubai, all right, this is the Strait of Hormuz right here. Okay, the Gulf of Oman, and you got Iran right here. In this area right here, this right here is the Strait of Hormuz, right? Hormuz Island. This is the Strait of Hormuz where all this tension and blockade is going on, blocking naval vessels from going up here into the Persian Gulf. All right. So here, if all these troops being mustered in Saudi Arabia, all right, they're faced toward the East Sea, the East Sea, because the target is going to be Iran. All right, so you want to face your target, which the target is Iran. So across the East Sea, being the Persian Gulf, you got Iran. And what it said here, it says, and his hinder part toward the utmost sea. All right, so with his back toward the utmost sea being the Red Sea. So once again, if you are boots on ground and your target is Iran, that means your face is going to be facing Iran as well as the Persian Gulf, and your back is going to be facing the Red Sea. All right. It says, and his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he had done great things. All right, so all those militaries is going to be destroyed. But in particular, this is focusing on the U.S. military. They're going to be destroyed over there. And according to Ezekiel 8, they're going to be pretty much whatever's left of them is going to be gathered up and buried, all right, in due time. So, that pretty much concludes the lesson. I pray that was edifying. Until next time, I say shalom.